Hello, and welcome back to the Bitter BM podcast. I'm your Bitter BM, Felicia, and here I speak about all the things that made me bitter, but made me into the person I am today. So, I saw something on YouTube, of course, because that's where I get most of my news. Like most people, I don't watch TV anymore unless there's something happening in my city. I saw a news report it happened in Chicago where a mom and her two children were assaulted by some other kids at a school. Now, apparently, some of the other kids were bullying one of her children, and she went to the school, I don't know, to address it with them, or I don't know what transpired, but the kids ended up jumping her and beating her up. And that story made me so sad because I could never imagine going to a school. It's a little warm in my house. Going to a school, trying to do what's best for your child, and then the kids jumping on me. Mind you, when my eldest was younger in kindergarten, she came home one day and told me that some boy at school was bothering her. Now, of course, I was enraged because I don't want nobody bothering my kids. My kids don't bother anybody. And I remember telling my mom that I was going to go to the school and beat up the little boy. Mind you, I was younger. But my mom basically said to me, go ahead and do it and then go to jail. But I was so mad because I'm like, how dare you have the audacity and the nerve to bother my child who had just here coming to school, trying to have fun with her friends, trying to learn. And here you are trying to ruin all of that. But now that I'm older, I definitely see where the parents of the children that were violent have failed their own kids. And had I gotten into a fight, gone to the school and fought the little boy, I would have failed my daughter as well, because that would have opened up a bigger can of worms. I also saw where one of the kids, apparently the girl who threw the first punch, came on camera and was apologizing. It looked like she had maybe her mom in the background, and another lady could have been like an aunt or a cousin. And she was apologizing through tears that did not seem authentic to me. And she said something that struck me. She said that she's not like the rest of the kids who jump the mom because she has more stuff. And that set off a signal in my mind because, one, it said to me that the adults that were speaking to her about the incident were talking about the other kids, talking down to the other kids, putting her up on a pedestal when compared to the other kids that were involved, making it seem as if she was better because she had more stuff. Now, your child is not better if she is actually participating in violence with other children that are being violent. Now, what that said to me was that little girl does not know how to think critically. And had she known how to think critically and also think for herself, she would have not given in to peer pressure, even though people are saying she threw the first punch. She would not have done that. She would have been able to assess what the consequences of her actions would have been and know that it was not the right thing to do. If it was me and I got my butt whooped by some kids, I'm pressing charges on all those kids. I don't know what that mom is going to do, but this is going to be, in my instance, this would be the biggest lesson of her life, the other kids' lives, and all of their parents' lives. Like, you need to be on top of your kids and your kids' behavior. From what I've heard over the years, there's a lot of violence in the city of Chicago, but I'm glad that the celebrities and the rappers, people who know about that life, are coming forward and denouncing this type of behavior, because the last thing you want is for the kids to start beating on the parents. Because guess what? Some parents are not going to let that slide, and they going to come back and beat on your kids. And God forbid a parent actually goes back and fights the child, or in the midst of fighting a child actually defending themselves, the child gets seriously hurt. Nobody wants that. So if it's one thing my kids know not to do, is to follow their friends. My kids wanted to pierce their nose. They do have their nose pierced. One of them does right now. And the whole time I kept saying to her, well, how many of your friends have their nose pierced? I questioned her up until the last hour of her piercing her nose, which she waited until she was 16 because it wasn't going to happen before that. But I wasn't going to allow her to just pierce her nose because all her friends had her nose pierced. I also had to give my youngest a chat when she got that C. She came home one day with a C on her report card, and I had to give her a couple slaps for that. And I said, listen to me. I don't remember what exactly was happening with her friends at the time, but I remember saying, don't worry about what it is your friends are doing, because your friends could be out here getting A's and B's on their report card, and you're the only one hanging out with them, taking school for a joke, and getting C's on your report card. I haven't seen a C since, from 6th grade to high school graduation. She graduated with honors. Not a C since. There was no way I was going to allow her to be hanging out with her friends and going to the mall and having sleepovers and all that type of stuff and getting C's. I said, you need to correct this ASAP or you're going to have bigger problems. And I never was shy about disciplining my kids when they did something wrong. My eldest, also when she was younger, fought her sister. Her sister called me crying, saying that she got beat up. And at the time I was at work, I didn't want to leave work because I didn't really know how serious it was. But when I got home, I was so mad. I couldn't even give her any whoopings. That's how upset I was, because I knew that if I whooped her, it would be really, really bad. So what I did, her punishment was she had to walk to school for an entire month. And at the time, my kids, they always had Jordans and nice shoes, different pairs of shoes to wear. I said, listen, you need to realize that even though I'm not the richest and I'm a single mother, you are very privileged to have more than 2 pairs of shoes to rotate and wear to school on a regular basis. And what I made her do on top of walking to school was wear the same pair of shoes to school for the entire month that she was on punishment. She couldn't leave the house. She couldn't do nothing. She couldn't hang out. She had to come straight home, stay in the house, wear the same clothes or the same pair of shoes, because she wore a uniform at the time, to school. And that was her punishment. And on top of that, I also said, I made it very clear to her. She was around 13 at the time. I made it 13 or 14. I made it very clear. I said, if you ever beat up your sister or put your hands on your sister again, I will call the police on you. I will call the police on you. And that's how far I was willing to go. Yes, that would have, gotten her in the criminal system. But hey, I left it up to her. I left it up to her to think critically and make a decision for her best interest, or in her best interest, to know that, hey, if I do this again, something serious is going to happen. And one thing about my kids, they know when I say something, it'll happen. If what I say is not being followed, then there's consequences. And I'm not afraid to pull out the consequent box, okay? I'm not afraid to pull out the circumstances for any of their actions. And that system has worked great for me over the years. Outside of a few little incidents, I never had to deal with any behavioral issues. They kept up their grades, and they're in higher education today. They're going to be university graduates as a result today, because I was extremely strict and made sure I instilled discipline. I made sure they knew how to think for themselves. I spoke to them about peer pressure. First off, I spoke to them about it, about the fact that, you're going to have friends that are going to want you to get involved in things, and you have to think for your own self and say, hey, should I follow my friend to do this? Is this a good idea? Now, what I would have loved to have seen instead of those social media apologies is an actual apology letter, having all the kids write apology letters to this mom and her children. On top of that, another great idea of what I would have loved to have seen, and I know it's still early, it's within a week of this happening, is the parents actually coming together, bringing all the kids together and apologizing to the mom in person. Now, the mom may not be interested in that, but it's something I would have loved to seen, because the children would have to see the results of their action. They would have to hear. It's like the equivalent of victim statements read to the court. You get to hear firsthand of how your actions affected the victim. And the kids need to know that. I mean, of course, the mom that got assaulted is, she's doing the rounds in media, and the kids are going to be able to watch that. But I think they need to make it a little bit more personable and either write letters to apologize or apologize in person to that family. Has your child ever gotten into any serious the behavioral issues at school that you addressed or didn't address immediately and then it turned into something else? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thanks for stopping by once again. I'll see y'all next time. Ciao.